Julia. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, love. How are you?
Delighted to be with you. It's lovely to be able to chat and share some fantastic ideas that you have today.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
So we're going to be talking about three tools that you're going to be sharing about how we can create positive harmony for your lovely niche.
Indeed. Feels very relevant for a lot of people at the moment.
Definitely. So this is Julia Meads, I believe. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but just as a brief kind of a little bit about you. So you're a dog trainer and an animal communicator, and you've created a fantastic company, Inca. I'll let you say a little bit more and introduce yourself fully.
Okay. Yeah. About 20 years ago, I started a company called Inca, and Inca stands for Intuitive Natural Communication with Animals. And it was actually named after a dog that I had, a dog that I rehomed, and she was a black German Shepherd. And she was an amazing teacher, and I think that's one of the big positives that I take from animals, is that we learn an awful lot from our human teachers, obviously, but animals are actually fantastic teachers as well, and they very much work on the opposite side of the brain to humans, so they're very good at giving us balance, and balance gives us harmony. So they also very much connect with us on a heart level. So they take us back into our heart space and our space of truth. And I think in these times of the COVID-19 virus, I think a lot of truth is coming to the surface. And I would say that animals hold a huge truth detector inside them. They really reflect like mirrors exactly what's going on for humans, and they really take us into that space where we recognize our own emotions and our own heart energy. Obviously we're intellectual beings as well, and we intellectualize the emotions that we feel, and very often we humanize animal feelings too, instead of perhaps recognizing them for what they really are. But an animal is most people can recognize that if you're feeling sad, that an animal will come over and just put itself there, and before you know it, you're stroking the animal and you're starting to feel a little bit better. And this is an exchange of feelings and emotions that goes on. It changes the hormones and the oxytocin levels within our body, and it allows us to get that feel good factor. So equally, we could take a completely different example, and an animal may see that a human is holding on to anger. Well, their job is if you like, is to reveal the truth. So they will do something that makes us angry, or could be perceived as making us angry. Actually, they can't make us angry. All they can do is release the anger that already exists inside us. So they may do something like, I don't know, raid the kitchen bin and and destroy everything and put it all over the kitchen floor, and then we'll go absolutely mental at what they've done, and they will sit back and go, job done. Because what has actually happened is they've allowed us to remove a block within ourselves that perhaps we were in denial of, or not recognizing, or unable to perhaps unlock. So they very much work on this heart level of only doing things for the highest truth, for the good of the beings that they're with. They don't have agendas such as humans have, where they wake up and think, right, I'm really going to upset her today. They actually just are being. And I think this is a state that a lot of humans are finding themselves in now during this time, where we're all restricted in isolation, and we're finding that we're finding our own feelings and our own truth. And animals are, if you like, on a much closer frequency to us than perhaps we would normally have been. We're less in that mindset and more in our heart set, if you like, at the moment. So I think animals teach us to understand a lot more. And I think if we understand things on this planet, we can usually deal with them a lot better. And if we look at the moment at the world as a whole, there's a beautiful video that's actually on my Facebook page at the moment, and it shows lots and lots of different animals that have, as the humans have retracted and pulled back into their own home environments and left great areas and spaces that are very quiet, animals have moved back into them. And you see pictures of rhinos walking down the street and sheep playing on playgrounds, on the merry-go-rounds and things. And it's amazing that if we hadn't got such a huge presence on this earth, how animals would still be walking these places. And as we've sort of pulled back, they are now walking these places. So it's really fascinating to watch at the moment how animals are reclaiming their own space on the land. So I think the fascinating thing for me is to perhaps just go back a few years. As a child, I used to sit and watch animals. So I would sit and watch birds in flight, and you'd see them sort of move across in great swathes. And it used to fascinate me, how on earth did they all know how to move and where to move? And how could they move as a group and form such an amazing pattern?
Definitely.
And seem to be able to know what each other's doing. You know, how do birds travel right across the world and migrate to completely different countries when they've only been born that year? You know, how does this happen? And it completely fascinated me. And so I used to go and sit in the fields and woods and watch squirrels and watch how they communicated with each other, and realized that they weren't using words and spoken language, and yet there was all this communication going on. And it just intrigued me that there must be more going on than perhaps meets the eye, literally. That animals were using senses to their maximum, but also that they were probably using other levels of communication as well. There seemed to be communication between bats, which was on a sonar range, and whales and things like this were obviously using very, very different frequencies in order to communicate with each other, which was beyond our audio. We couldn't hear it, but it was definitely going on. And they would use body language to communicate what they wished to say to another being. They would use smells to indicate whether or not they were friendly, or whether they were like a little puppy will yawn, and the yawn is giving off a smell which tells the other adults in the pack what is going on. So if they were all sort of laid asleep and a puppy woke up and yawned, that smell would be the piece of information that the mum would wake up and realize that she needed to look after the puppies. So there was lots and lots of information going on that perhaps we were missing. It was almost like we were sailing above it and not really taking any notice. And so I really started looking into this over many, many years. And I always claim that although I work as a dog trainer, which is a very sort of earth level, physical and interactive way of teaching, that actually dogs were my teachers. And it was many years later that I went away and studied being a dog trainer and learning the behavioural side. And I must admit, when I finished doing my residential behavioural courses, the instructors turned around at the end and said, "It's been absolutely fascinating having you here, and I've learned so much." And I was like, well, that's good, but kind of something's not quite right there as well, because I've come here to learn it, and yet I seem to have been teaching it. So, but either way, you know, we're all here to learn. You know, it's the purpose of being on the planet. is to learn. And if we weren't learning and we weren't making mistakes, then there really wouldn't be much point in us all being here. So I aspire to teach what I have learned, to get other people to learn from their animals, allow them to teach them, because we're all shut at the moment. You're either looking out through your window and watching nature, or out with your dogs, walking all around the fields, around the reservoirs, around the local areas. They're taking us out into nature. Watch the birds, watch the insects, watch the flowers, look at how things are, how nature is continuing. Even though humans are in crisis, nature is completely calm. In fact, it's flourishing. And even if you look at the sky at the moment is clear. You can see the stars at night. You know, the pollution has reduced. There are many, many aspects of being in lockdown which are absolutely fantastic. And they really are a time to slow down and really look, really observe, use your senses. This is what animals teach us. Really use your senses. Use the senses you were born with, but actually use them to their advantage. Sit in the garden and close your eyes. Listen to the bird song. Listen to how the communication is happening. Listen to what is happening around you. Really be in tune. Be present. Get your feet on the floor. Get your feet on the ground. And really be present with what's happening in the world at the moment. And if you're shut inside, many people are shut inside, and a lot of people are shut in on their own. They're in total isolation. And although we have the wonders of technology, which many of us are terrified of, including me, and we're all learning it, and it's a fantastic way of being able to advance our communication. But a lot of us are literally just living with an animal. That animal is our companionship, our company, somebody to touch. Everyone who's living on their own at the moment has lost the complete ability to be able to touch any other human being. And that is absolutely massive. You know, humans are tactile beings. We like to hug, we like to shake hands, we like to kiss, we like to do these things. And at the moment, for an awful lot of the population, the only thing they are allowed to touch at present is an animal. And that allows us to keep in touch with our touch instinct. So I may have covered 3 there. I might have covered 100, but certainly I think there are many, many things at the moment. Animals, you know, have been described by many people to me at the moment as being the beings that are keeping humans sane. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Definitely. So I'm just in awe of what you've just said. It's very thought-provoking, and I think a lot of people will not only benefit from this at this moment in time, which is during the lockdown, but anytime. So this is an evergreen kind of video that we are doing. So would you say, to summarize, would it be like animals reflect your truth? They help you, and they help you to engage in your senses.
Right.
And they, again, it's the second part, they evoke your sense of touch.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that all of those things are particularly amplified at the moment.
Definitely.
When I work with animal communication, I actually work on a much deeper level. You can do this, you know, face to face with an animal and a person. But equally, the way that I do most of my animal communication is actually via photographs.
Okay. And you were saying you were doing some talks as well next week, and you're doing a course.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, if people want to contact you or they want to, you know, take this a little bit further. Yeah. What can they do? What can you offer? And how can they match your offerings?
So what I'm doing next week is a talk on animal communication, so that people can perhaps understand a little bit more about what that involves. I think every person on the planet is actually a natural animal communicator. What I want to be able to do is to, if you like, emphasize that, bring it out in people, bring out the confidence levels in people so that they can actually recognize that they're doing it. And then perhaps use the tools, not just with animals, but with humans too. I think the better the communication is around the entire planet, the deeper the level of understanding that we all have of each other and of ourselves, then, you know, the better place we're all in. As I say, I use photographs, so I'm obviously working on a much deeper level. And these animals may be animals that are living animals, or they could be animals from the past. So they could be animals that people have previously owned. And I know that gives an amazing connection for a lot of people who've lost animals. I actually take it a little bit deeper. I do work with humans too. And, you know, so working on things like dealing with perhaps somebody who's lost a child is a very, very deep connection that you can have a two-way, three-way conversation with that being. So animal communication can open up a very, very big channel, if you like. So what I'm doing is a talk next Wednesday at 7:30 on a platform called Starleaf, which is a British company. So if people wish to join in on that talk and have a listen, it's a free talk, because I'm just keen to spread the word and get people thinking and feeling and provoking. If they want to join that, then they're more than welcome. We'll put the email address out at the end. I'm also Julia Meads on Facebook, so people can look that up. And more than welcome to join us for that. It may well be that we also do another talk the following week on the same theme, because we seem to have quite a lot of people want to join. That's fine. I will just open up according to what is needed. And then for the last couple of weeks in May on a Wednesday evening, we're just going to run a very, very basic short animal communication course where people can start to learn the very basic skills. And my intention then is that if the lockdown continues, or possibly even if it doesn't, then we're going to go on and do a much, much deeper, much more comprehensive 3-week course over, you know, a couple of hours, 2 or 3 times a week over 2 or 3 weeks, so that people can really actually learn to do this for themselves. Which I think would be a wonderful set of skills to be able to take out into the world. So it's something that previously I've always taught as a workshop.
Sure.
With people, yes, again, working via photographs, but obviously all in the same room. Yeah. So our room will be a internet room as opposed to a physical building room, and so it'll be new ground for me, but you know, hopefully we can inspire a lot of people, and if we can benefit the communication and the relationship between human and animals as we move forward into what is turning into a new world, then I think it's something that we can reset that's become out of balance, and we can bring harmony back to our planet.
That sounds great. And to be honest, just when we started this talk as well, I'm sure everybody else can sink into that harmony that we have between each other in this virtual room. So I've done quite a few other interviews. The energy is very different. So it's nice to tune into, as you said, isn't it, the vibrational levels, the harmony, because you need to have that calmness and that equipoise to be able to communicate to animals. So hopefully people have found this inspiring to even take something away, to allow their animals to reflect their own truth if they're ready for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just feels like really perfect timing at the moment. Yeah. One of the classic lines that animals use is that humans think so loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think there's a real lot of truth in that. We're so busy thinking everything out that actually we've lost our intuition. We've lost our ability to actually know our knowingness inside us. Yeah. Which is screaming out and trying, but it's such a quiet little voice. It's like a little whisper. And you know what? When we're shouting, we miss the whispers.
Yeah, I actually think it's in silence and stillness that we can evoke that intuitive nature. So similar to you, I do human therapy. And one of the aspects is acceptance commitment therapy, which is exactly what you've just said. It's to quiet the chatter of the mind so you can allow your natural intuitive nature to shine. So it's a process, isn't it?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. So before we end, would you like to share what we initially started off with, which we actually didn't include in the video? So you introduced me to Minnie,
Oh,
and
this is little Minnie. Wake up, Minnie. So Minnie has been sat on my lap all the time we've been talking. This is little Minnie. And Minnie traditionally goes once a week. We do a voluntary visit to the local nursing home for old people. And she goes in and provides lots of joy and comfort and touch normally to, she's very sleepy, to the people in the old people's home, who very often are people who have had animals in their lives. But obviously when they go into the nursing home, they're not allowed to take their animals. So we go in once a week, and as we walk in, the entire place lights up, not just the residents, the staff, the cleaners, the cooking people, absolutely everybody lights up. Minnie does all her little tricks and things and makes everyone laugh, and she sits quietly and gently on their laps and allows them to just stroke her. So today we're going to do a Zoom call. Minnie's doing her first Zoom call to the nursing home because obviously they are missing seeing her. They won't be able to touch her, but they will all be able to see her and her little face, and it will lighten things and hopefully give them a good smile today, something to look forward to. So that'll be what we're doing later.
That's great. My dad was in a nursing home as well towards the end of his life, and I remember when they used to have a mini zoo coming, and he used to love it. We've got photographs, so it's such, especially with what's happening now. I'm sure this is relevant all the time, but especially now more than ever, this is a wonderful gift you're offering.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you so much, and yeah, we'll add your details to at the end of the video, and hopefully people can contact you.
Lovely. Well, it's been my pleasure, and hopefully we can get through to lots and lots of people. But it's always a joy to spend time with you.
Likewise. So that goes without saying, actually. Well, thank you so much. Take care.
And you, my love. Bye-bye.
Bye.